Let me ask you something that sounds like the beginning of a movie, but is completely real. Imagine creating something that could change the entire global financial system, something that challenges banks, governments, and the very idea of money itself. And then, just as the world starts to notice, you vanish. No interviews, no press, no trace. That's exactly what happened with Satoshi Nakamoto, the mysterious figure behind Bitcoin. And to this day, no one knows who he is. Not the government, not intelligence agencies, not even the people who worked with him. But here's where it gets even more fascinating, because this isn't just a story about a person, it's a story about power, control, and a system designed to replace the one we've trusted for centuries. So the real question isn't just who is Satoshi Nakamoto, it's why did he disappear? To understand that, we need to go back to a moment when the world was breaking. The year is 2008. The global financial system is collapsing. Banks are failing, people are losing their homes, trillions of dollars are being wiped out almost overnight. And in the middle of this chaos, something appears online. A simple 9-page document. No flashy marketing, no corporate backing, just an idea. It was called Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, published by someone using the name Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, at first glance, it didn't look revolutionary, but buried inside that paper was a concept so powerful it would go on to create an entirely new financial universe. The idea was simple, but dangerous. What if you could send money directly to someone without a bank? No middleman, no approval, no fees controlled by institutions, just you and the other person. To make that work, Satoshi introduced something called blockchain, a public, decentralized ledger that records every transaction permanently and transparently. No one owns it. Everyone can see it, and once something is recorded, it can't be changed. For the first time in history, trust wasn't placed in an institution, it was placed in code. In January 2009, the first Bitcoin block was mined, and here's where things get chilling. Embedded in that very first block, known as the Genesis block, was a message, a headline from a British newspaper. The Times, 03 Jan 2009, Chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks. That wasn't random. That was a statement. A message that Bitcoin wasn't just technology, it was a response to a broken financial system. A quiet rebellion. Over the next 2 years, Satoshi stayed active. He communicated with early developers, fixed bugs, improved the system, answered questions in forums and emails. But he was always careful. No personal details, no location, no identity leaks. Everything about him was precise, controlled, intentional. He wrote in perfect English, sometimes British, sometimes American. He seemed to have deep knowledge of cryptography, economics, and computer science, but no one could connect him to a real person. And then, in 2011, he was gone. Just like that. His last message was simple. I've moved on to other things. And then, silence. No farewell, no explanation, no return. The man who created a trillion-dollar financial system disappeared. Now think about that for a second. If you created something like Bitcoin today, something that could be worth billions of dollars, would you walk away? Because that's exactly what Satoshi did. It estimated that Satoshi owns around 1 million Bitcoins. At today's value, that's tens of billions of dollars, and not a single coin has ever been moved.
Not one. Which raises a question that keeps people awake at night. Was Satoshi a person or something else? Over the years, many names have been suggested. Hal Finney, one of the first people to receive a Bitcoin transaction. Nick Szabo, who had already developed similar concepts years earlier, Craig Wright, who publicly claimed to be Satoshi but failed to provide convincing proof. Even tech giants like Elon Musk had been jokingly suspected. But every theory has one problem: no evidence. And maybe that's the point, because the moment Satoshi becomes a real person, Bitcoin changes. It gains a leader, a face, someone who can be pressured, controlled, or even eliminated. But by disappearing, Satoshi did something extraordinary. He made Bitcoin truly decentralized. No founder to influence it, no authority to override it, just code in the people who use it. And that might be the most genius part of all. But here's where things get even deeper, because Bitcoin didn't just introduce digital money, it introduced digital scarcity. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins, no matter what. No printing, no inflation by design. Compare that to traditional currencies where governments can create more money whenever they choose. Bitcoin flipped that idea completely, and suddenly people started paying attention. At first, it was nothing. Literally. In 2010, someone bought 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoins. Today, that would be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Then, slowly, it started growing. Developers joined, miners joined, investors joined. What began as an experiment turned into a movement, and then an industry. Today, Bitcoin is recognized globally. Governments debate it. Banks are forced to adapt to it. And entire countries have even adopted it as legal tender. But through all of this, Satoshi Nakamoto never came back. No interviews, no claims, no control. Just silence. And maybe that silence is intentional, because Bitcoin doesn't need Satoshi anymore. It runs on its own, exactly as it was designed to. But there's still one question that no one can answer. Why did he really disappear? Some believe he feared legal consequences. After all, creating a system that challenges global financial control isn't exactly safe. Others think he wanted to avoid becoming a target, politically or even physically. And then there's a more philosophical theory, that Satoshi never wanted recognition, that the goal was never fame or money, but freedom. Freedom from centralized control. Freedom from systems that can be manipulated. Freedom to give people ownership of their own money. And once that mission was complete, he left. No victory lap, no spotlight. Just gone. But here's something most people don't realize. Satoshi's disappearance might be the reason Bitcoin survived. Because without a leader, it can't be shut down by removing one person. Without a face, it can't be easily attacked. It exists everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And that makes it incredibly powerful.